Hello, Darren.
How's it going, Barry? You well?
I'm great.
That's
Thanks for
good.
doing this.
No worries.
For those who don't know, Darren is a coach out in St Andrew's School and is has been involved with Rock Jam for a long time. Great guitarist, plays in a lot of bands, loves to noodle. So you have your guitar there in your
Oh,
lap, I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Never leaves my lap.
Plenty of
Never.
noodling going on during this, which is
That's all
great.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you're gonna give us some examples, some
Yeah.
little examples of the
Yeah.
AC/DC stuff.
I suppose I just want to kind of maybe, especially for obviously ACDC, it's very influential for guitarists, I suppose.
Yeah,
Not naturally enough. So it's heavy guitar music, not a keyboard in sight within the first few albums
yeah,
anyway. So sorry guys, but
yeah,
yeah, for the but I suppose, yeah, guitarist, absolutely very influential. And I suppose, for my own playing, I didn't really get into ACDC, unfortunately, you know, uh, until, I was kind of well into playing guitar, I suppose. They're just a band that they never kind of came up on my radar. Obviously, you would have heard about them,
Mm,
and I would have known their main songs, but I suppose I was more into the heavier side of Metallica and Megadeth, those guys first. But to be honest with you, I kind of, you know, somewhat regret that because when you really analyze ACDC's music, it has, all the foundational features in it,
yeah,
for any guitar player needs to learn. You
mm,
know what I mean? So if I could go back, I suppose 25 or 26 years ago, I'd go to ACDC straight away. But
yeah,
but
yeah. I get that totally. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely,
They kind of have they have the formula,
yeah,
and they just like what's that Dave Grohl thing when he's interviewed about music, he was talking about songwriting, and he was saying. Just writing the hits, just more chorus, 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 hit, hit, hit.
yeah,
These guys
absolutely,
know how to do it. They've got the
yeah,
exact ingredients right, and they just
yeah.
keep producing.
Exactly. And I
Yeah,
mean, under formula, I mean, like when you break it down, it's nothing complex, it's just pure rock and roll. It sounds excellent. The recording sounds excellent. The tone is incredible.
mm,
Great musicians that just knew how to write a good song,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and not overcomplicate things. But yeah,
big time. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about these guys. So AC/DC were formed in 1973 in Australia, so they're an Australian band, which I suppose
yeah,
is kind of on the unusual side.
absolutely, yeah,
Um, and the guitarist Malcolm Young and his younger brother Angus serving as lead guitarist.
yeah,
So I guess he'll be the focus of our discussion. And
absolutely.
and they started playing gigs around Sydney. Angus was only 15 years old at the time, and his sister suggested that he should wear his school uniform on stage as a bit of a joke.
Yeah,
But he did it, and yeah, and he never really took it off again.
no, ever, ever,
Ever.
ever, ever. Just showered in his uniform. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Absolutely. I mean, like it's so iconic, isn't it? I mean, I suppose
Mm.
it's like Slash with his top hat in the early days. It's
Yeah.
like, like any, I suppose, young guitarist out there,
Yeah.
who wants to make their name in the scene. I suppose it's an
Yeah.
important feature, isn't it? The kind of the look aspect, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I
You
mean, you
know.
know yourself, there's so many guitarists in every scene,
Yes.
trying to stand out from the crowd is difficult, and
Yeah.
these guys, they put an extra layer on, and
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they
So.
could they could play they could play the guitar
Yeah.
for a start, but that's
Yeah.
kind of the minimum really
It
nowadays,
is.
especially,
Yeah. It is. It's as you say. It's the style and it's the actual guitar that you'd associate with these bands as well. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
like Angus, we all know that he plays the SG.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
if you're going to be in a AC/DC tribute band and you walk on the stage with a Strat,
yeah.
you're immediately going to get sacked, aren't you? But
Yeah, can
but
you imagine?
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of younger guitarists now getting the SG and getting really into Angus's
yeah,
playing. So that's really good.
yeah.
It's really good.
It's
And
amazing. It's really good to see. Yeah,
yeah. Okay, so continuing on. Um, so obviously they had a bit of a few changes initially, but they ended up using their band's chauffeur. Bon Scott
Yeah.
to become their lead guitarist when their
Yeah.
regular singer Dave Evans refused to go on stage. So that's one of those rock and roll stories that I don't know if I believe
Absolutely.
completely, but it's
Yeah.
there.
I'd love to know like how they kind of figured out that he could sing. Was
Yeah,
it was it one of those? What did he do a warm up for or did he do the kind of the sound on stage, or was he
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But
I can only imagine. I would say like things are pretty wild back then in the
yeah,
70s, and
yeah,
you're going around with a chauffeur, then you probably you
you've
probably
made
got to
it.
know him pretty well. Yeah. Okay, so so Bon Scott joined, and that's kind of begins the Bon Scott era of AC/DC. And they initially released two albums, High Voltage and TNT,
Yeah,
in '74 and '75. So let's start off by taking a look at what will we look at first? We'll look at High Voltage first,
cool.
okay?
Yeah.
So I'll just share the screen with you now. So High Voltage rock and roll,
Yeah.
rocking out there.
Killer song.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. It's unbelievable to like when I listen to that, just the guitar tone is
Mm,
incredible.
mm.
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, and even I know the production element of that isn't fantastic, but when you listen to the guitar, how clean the guitar tone is. And regarding obviously it's heavy overdriven, it's distortion, but it's just very very clean, very crisp sounding
Yeah,
guitar tone,
yeah,
So I absolutely love it, and when you kind of break that song down into the features and into the style, I mean, it's coming from blues.
yeah,
It's blues
yeah.
essentially,
It's blues lick.
absolutely. I mean, it has the 1, 4, and 5 going through all of that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so if you're breaking down the intro part,
Mm.
you're starting
Yeah,
on the 5 chord there, your E.
yeah.
So it's pretty much going 5, 4 to 1.
Mm.
And then after that, you're immediately kind of going into that blues.
Yeah.
That blues riff. So right
Mm.
there, you're just immersing yourself in this blues rock and roll, okay? And then Angus's kind of feature through the verse, he's doing the
Mm.
so
Yeah.
what you're hearing there is, again, you're hearing that 5/4 blues idea,
Mm.
going through that whole verse. And as a young guitarist learning that, you're learning about that blues basis,
Yep.
and I think when we're learning guitar first, we are kind of scared of the higher frets. We don't
Mm.
really kind of like, right, what's going on up there.
Yeah.
So like learning something like this, where it's pretty much 74 chords, you know,
Yeah.
you're able to really analyze those 4 chords, and you're making use of those 4 chords in just different chord progressions, different ways.
Mm.
So like here, you're just hearing an E major chord going to a D major chord,
Yeah.
which is essentially the verse. You know. So Malcolm's down here on the lower octave.
Yeah.
Angus is up here in the higher octave. But they're essentially kind of doing the same thing. But, you know, as guitar kind of parts, it really, really works. You know,
Yeah.
because we all know
Yeah.
how hard it is to fit two guitars into a band nowadays.
Big
You
time.
know what I mean? So, I mean, even that there, a guitarist taking the lower part, other guitarist taking the higher,
Yeah. Yeah. Making that
really,
bigger
really
sound.
works, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's take a look at TNT from the same, well, in around the same era. It's a year later, but they've
Yeah,
got I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of similarities. Let's just say that, but we'll bring it up here. TNT, and they've really got
Awesome.
their stage presence going on there.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I
Um,
mean, again, it's kind of very, very similar, isn't it? Like
mm,
in style to hearing like, you know, high voltage, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
That drum beat, going through
Yeah,
the history of AC/DC as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Real,
No, it's
just
great.
powerful, driven blues rock.
Yeah. Again, and just again, very, very simple ideas, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah,
like, you know,
yeah,
nothing overly complex, just incredible musicianship all around.
yeah,
That's it, you know.
yeah.
I mean, the thing is, if there's anyone, I suppose, trying to play along with these songs, you'll
Hmm.
notice that it's actually your guitar is going to sound out of tune, you know.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
there is kind of stuff going around that. Well, I mean, it could come down to the studio kind of stretching the music, which would make the audio slightly go out of tune.
Yeah.
But there's also talk of the guys used to tune down a quarter step.
How did they do
You know,
that?
it's true. Exactly. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, Angus and Malcolm tuning their guitars down a quarter step. You know, it's like
Yeah.
that's why it's or else they usually went the whole semitone to E flat then instead as well. So that's why
Yeah.
if you are trying to play along with these tracks on YouTube and whatnot, you're going to find, oh, that's kind of slightly out of tune, which is again in that case there.
Yeah, yeah. It's an
Oh,
interesting question because I wonder, like before digital tuners, in the studio, what were they tuning to? A piano, presumably.
yeah,
But maybe, the lads just kind of tuned to their ear. Maybe they
yeah,
just had a particular tuning they liked and
yeah,
just went with that and got everybody to go with that.
yeah, definitely. You know,
Um,
100%. But yeah, strange,
mm,
strange. The quarter tuning, strange. But you know, it works. I mean,
yeah,
I always liked the E flat tuning on guitar.
yeah,
It kind of works really nice. But again, when you analyze that song again, it's based on three chords, all
yeah,
power chords. You know,
yeah.
like that kind of TNT part.
Mm,
That kind of chugging power chord G, like the D, G, and E. So again, for any kind of young guitarists who kind of want to get into this sort of music, it's very achievable
Yeah.
and it's very obtainable. Without needing full bar chords or without even needing too much technique. Obviously, the soloing side of things, like we heard at the start, yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
that's a different story.
Yeah.
But you can learning 3 or 4 chords,
Yeah.
you can really delve deep into what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, big time. And they
And
are very accessible, just
yeah,
simple chords you learn very early on, and bit of strumming and off you
yeah,
go. Yeah.
yeah,
And then you
exactly.
can aim towards the other stuff, as you
Yeah,
go as well.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
cool. Okay, let's move on. So, 1977, AC/DC released "Let There Be Rock,"
Yeah,
which became the first album to chart in the US. Um, so obviously that's a big deal, but all around the world at that stage there were bands who were playing kind of in that style, that blues rock, heavy rock,
mm,
kind of turning into something else.
yeah,
You have your Status Quo and you have your Tin Lizzy and all these
yeah.
bands.
Zeppelin, as well. I
Yeah,
mean, like the like a massive band, and Zeppelin were another kind of like blues rock, but they were a good bit experimental. A bit more experimental, I suppose.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
which I suppose probably that's how AC/DC were so likable. They
yeah.
were very straight to the point.
That's
You
it.
know,
They did. They found their formula and they stuck to their. I guess they they became the traditionalists of that particular type of music.
yeah,
They kept playing it, which is an
yeah.
interesting way to think about it. Okay, so let's take a look at "Let There Be Rock."
Back in 1955, man didn't know about a rock and roll show. No, that jive. The white man had the schmaltz, the black man had the blues. No one knew what they was going to do, but Tchaikovsky had the news. He said, "Let there be sound." There was sound. Let there be light. There was light. Let there be drums. There was drums. Let there be guitar. There was guitar. Oh, let there be rock.
Okay, let's end that there. That's class. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
personality of Bon Scott there is just gas. They
Oh,
never really achieved that again.
no. I
He's
know.
something else.
Yeah, I mean, like it's very kind of even, obviously Bowie-esque or something like it. How he was interacting just with the
Yeah,
music and just with the crowd and whatnot. Like.
yeah, very comfortable
Yeah,
performer.
absolutely,
Looked like
absolutely.
he gave his hair a wash for that one as well.
The once a year wash.
Yeah, yeah, good.
It's the rock and roll rule, isn't it? Like.
Yeah, uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's great stuff.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
I mean, these guys are releasing so many albums, just
yeah,
year after year, sometimes twice a year. They're releasing an album,
yeah.
so they're banging them out. That was
But I mean,
'77.
it's back then, which is kind of, yeah.
Mm,
Which I suppose is kind of different to nowadays, isn't it? Really, I suppose with kind
yeah,
of releasing stuff. I mean, back
yeah.
then there
Well,
was no Spotify, and back
that's
then there
it.
was you
You had a
know.
record industry
So I mean,
basically.
like, and then obviously they were exactly,
Yeah, and
So they
the,
they suppose they kind of had to release this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of it's how you made your money, how you kept the band going. A lot of touring, you were expected to release an album every year, I suppose, and to tour it, and that was how the money came
Mm.
in, and sell the records on the road.
Yeah.
It's very, very different now, of
Yeah.
course. But yeah, that comes up a lot
Noticeable.
in the rock talks. Just how different it is now. Some things are the
Yeah.
same. Some things have changed completely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and there's definitely obviously many benefits to how music is
Yeah.
produced nowadays, and how it's distributed.
Yeah.
Like I said, back then they would have been contracted to do that, so they
Mm.
would have been on and have a time limit as to when they had to release. Whereas
Mm.
nowadays, I suppose it's kind of maybe similar nowadays, but
Yeah.
there's just a humongous amount of music out there available to us
Yeah.
all, at our
Yeah.
fingertips.
Exactly.
So slightly different, I suppose. But no, it's great. I mean, and when you kind of look back at that song and the TNT, if you can play TNT, you can play Let There Be Rock, same
Mm.
chords. You know, same G, A, and E power chords.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's. I mean, but like as you said, as we were saying, they really hit. They hit their niche, they hit the
Yeah.
genre, and they really went for it, didn't they?
Yeah, they
You
did,
know,
and there's nothing wrong with that. The
no,
playing the same chords. It's not like there's a rule where you're only
no,
allowed to use D once in your
yeah,
career.
yeah, exactly. If
Um,
anything, it's very kind of admirable
yeah,
to do that,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
to really kind of stick to their guns and have a landscape, a sound landscape, and just really stick to that and
mm,
consistently make hit after hit after hit.
yeah,
Very inspiring, really.
yeah, yeah, big time. Okay, so we're on to 78.
Yeah,
Powerage is the name of the next album. Um, and yeah, they building up a reputation of their very dramatic live shows and dynamic live shows. You can see that in the videos. A lot
yeah,
of the videos up to now have been um, live videos, I
mm,
suppose.
yeah,
So obviously, the big hit coming up then is Highway to Hell. That was the
yeah,
following year in '79, but
yeah.
that hit number 17 in the US charts and number 8 in the UK charts, becoming the group's first million seller. So that's
Okay,
that's when getting number 17 in the US charts was it meant
big
you
deal.
were it was
Oh
a
yeah,
huge deal. Yeah, yeah, huge.
absolutely.
Getting in the top 10 in the UK charts as well, massive deal. So
For a
you know
rock band, like for a heavy rock band,
yeah.
it was quite unheard of, wasn't it? Really, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, they're just. I mean, it would have changed everything for them,
yeah,
and that's when I guess they're starting on this kind of stadium rock thing, which is you need the bigger venues, and they're
mm,
going to football stadiums, and but they were, they were just really well suited to that setup.
yeah,
Simple, singable songs.
yeah.
So Highway Dale is a big one. Let's have a listen to that because that's
Cool.
one that most people will know.
Yeah.
Living easy, living free. Season ticket on a one-way ride. Asking nothing, leave me be. Take your love and carry in my stride. Don't need reason, don't need rhyme. Ain't nothing that will ever do. Going down, party time. My friends are gonna be there too. I'm on the highway to hell. On the highway to hell. Highway to hell. I'm on the highway to hell. No.
All right, you can listen to the whole thing, but
Yeah.
we'll leave that to people to do that themselves.
Could you imagine, like, the first time you heard that? Say if you're just driving in your car, and then you turn on the radio, and then that comes on, and you just hear that, and you hear that riff for the first time, and you're just like,
Yeah, it's
you know,
everything about it is so crisp.
oh,
It's just
it's incredible,
yeah,
and it's a perfect, it's actually a perfect opening.
yeah,
Really is, like, just that guitar riff at the
yeah,
opening is it's absolutely incredible,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
It
know,
is.
and guess what it is? you know, it's just like.
Yeah,
D, G.
Yeah.
You know, power chords, and it's unbelievable,
Yeah.
unbelievable. You know, and it's so super strong, super strong. You know,
Mm.
and I don't know. I mean, like when you listen, this is the thing with AC/DC. When you kind of listen to their music, especially that stage, it's very empty.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like that.
No.
You know,
No.
it really doesn't. I mean, it's just the guitars fill up so much space, but yet they leave enough space for the vocalist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it really is incredible songwriting.
It is, yeah, and
You know,
arranging as well.
yeah,
I mean, it's simple, but it's really hard to get that simple stuff right. It's
yeah,
really, really hard. And
yeah,
the drums coming in there, it's just the perfect moment.
yeah,
It's the
yeah,
perfect drum beat. There's
yeah,
nothing fancy about it. It just drives it, and the bass as well.
yeah, yeah,
You can see that everything's set up around the riff. The riff is there, and everything's set up to kind of raise it up to another
yeah.
level.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's class.
You know, it's
And
unbelievable.
and if they only wrote that, then they would still be rock and roll legends.
Oh, absolutely,
But
absolutely.
they wrote more. They wrote
Like,
lots more.
I don't know anyone that doesn't like that song.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, even if you're not into rock, even if you're not into AC/DC,
Yeah.
you still know that as being one of the, most iconic songs, like around, it's just,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable, and it's,
It is.
yeah,
Yeah.
it always puts a smile on your face.
It
Always,
does. Yeah. It's class.
you know.
Okay, so they released that, and unfortunately, then Bon Scott died in 1980. But they didn't stick around for long, wallowing in
No.
that. They moved on. They got Brian Johnson,
Another incredible singer.
incredible singer, yeah, and
yeah.
really managed to continue on the sound and develop it into something different. Now, I know a lot of people there are Bon Scott people,
Yeah.
and they will remain Bon Scott people,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But I really think Brian Johnson was really great. It was really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a transition. It was a transition to another amazing, awesome period for them. I mean, it is hard to decide, but
Yeah.
I don't think maybe we shouldn't decide.
No.
Because they were just. I mean, and even when Brian Johnson came in, you can definitely see how the writing shifted as well. And even with Angus, his guitar lines did become a bit more intricate.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a personality, him just growing, him getting better on the guitar, him, it's a mixture of everything. But you can definitely see that transition period. Even Black.
Yeah. So, so I mean, they got him into the band, and then a month later they went to the studios for Back in Black. I believe they'd been recording or starting to work on it before he joined. And he was really put through his paces on this. I think I'm from the stories I heard, I'm amazed he kind of stayed because they really tested him, in the studio. But I think, before we go on, let's just take a look at Back in Black. Another massive song to follow up Highway to Hell.
Absolutely.
So let's check that out. Okay, awesome stuff. Incredibly powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the intro,
yeah,
you hear the, and you just know what it is straight away.
Yeah,
You know, you can hear it a mile away. You know, and this is the thing is like I suppose he's kind of a bit more. He's bringing a bit more, I suppose, linear. Yeah, he's approaching his playing a bit more linear rather than chordal. You know, in this as you can hear in that. You know, with the and then that kind of stuff. You know, and but it's still keeping.
The
chordal stuff, you know, as well.
It's more sophisticated though, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
Rhythmically and you know, in terms of notes and structure, it's more sophisticated. But keeping that little formula they have going on. You know, the just driving music and so clean. Absolutely. Just it's interesting to see, you know, Brian up front with the eyes closed and the cap over his face. Yeah, you know, isn't it? It's very, very different. You know, he's obviously he's not Bon Scott. He's not owning the camera the way Bon did.
No,
much more kind of reluctant almost to be out there.
Yeah, well, I suppose kind of just doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And I suppose maybe the rest of the band kind of, well, Angus always makes up for it because he's kind of from one side to the next side on the stage. You know.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely, yeah, it is different. And I'd imagine, you know, fans, you know, who were, you know, mega fans, you know, would have probably had to get used to that, you know, maybe seeing that on stage if you went to see them with Bon Scott and then after with Brian Johnson, probably had to get used
exactly.
to that, you know?
But his voice, though, you know, I mean, it's incredible. How does he maintain that, or how did he maintain that? Just
I don't know.
It sounds like he's breaking his voice the whole time.
Yeah. But I suppose when you hear him speak, it is that very, you know, low gravelly sound. You know? So
it's just unique.
No, absolutely amazing
stuff. So it's, you know, Back in Black 1980-ish. 81 was another album for those about to rock. We salute you. So yeah, we've got that. With next was A Flick of the Switch.
Yeah.
So our commercial standing began to slip. So they were beginning to kind of slip down a little bit in terms of their following. But 1990, The Razor's Edge, they came up with another cracker, Thunderstruck.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
so
like, the guitar riff straight away is just like, wow.
Again, another killer. So let's take a look at that.
Texas,
killer tune.
Absolutely amazing. Like, listen, the stamina
Yeah,
of Angus Young there,
I know.
just to keep that going, is
Well, you can
unbelievable.
hear, I can hear, he's a bit older in that video, so
Yeah,
and he's still managing to keep that going. That's
yeah.
hard.
And the thing about it, he's picking every one of those
Yeah,
notes. So like rather than going like,
yeah.
which is what I do,
Mm.
because he does, which is way more difficult to pick all those notes, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But apparently when he was recording that, he only had a B string on the guitar, apparently. So he took all the strings off apart from the B string.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, just so that you're not hearing the ring of all the
yeah,
rest of the notes, you know.
yeah.
Just
I
so it's
mean,
super clean.
yeah. I've heard of people taping up the other strings, all right,
Yeah,
for stuff. But that makes perfect sense.
it
Why
does.
not? Yeah, class tune. Again, like arranging has got a bit more sophisticated,
Yeah,
but still the same kind of core elements there.
yeah, definitely
Uh,
hardcore rock
I know, so
altogether.
like that's like a stadium tour. Then they've got like it all set up. They've at this stage they've really figured it all out.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, I mean they've got more albums. I mean, I think they really kind of got another or third wind around when Iron Man 2 came out, and
yeah,
they featured a lot of their music in that.
yeah,
Um, and the band are getting older now at this stage as well. So Malcolm Young unfortunately died in
yeah.
2017. Brian as well. He had to leave the band for a while because of
Hearing, wasn't it?
hearing. Yeah, which I mean, you look at the stage and you go, well, obviously, I mean, they've got like 50,000 amplifiers, and it's a big loud act. But apparently, he
Yeah.
actually lost his hearing from he loves to race motor cars, and it's
Oh yeah.
incredibly loud doing that. And he
Okay.
didn't wear plugs in the track, and
Okay.
damaged his hearing from that.
Okay.
So of all things,
That's actually incredible, isn't it?
it's
Like,
still pretty rock and roll. But
oh, absolutely, 100% rock and roll. But
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
different to now, isn't it? Like, just we're,
yeah.
protecting your hearing is so important,
Oh
really.
yeah, I mean, I think people are much more cautious now. Obviously,
Yeah.
I've got hearing damage in mine from earlier on, but I do
Oh, do
look
you? Yeah.
after them now. Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Okay.
being a bass player, stood around drummers for many, many,
That
many
right, simple.
years. Yeah, it's actually the snare. Apparently, it's the
Oh,
snare.
okay.
There's a certain frequency that goes. You can see my
Okay.
battery's flashing there. That's
Yeah. Just
okay.
about.
I'll
Yeah.
switch to the other camera. It's no problem.
No worries.
But yeah, so yeah, we're kind of coming to the end now anyway.
Yeah.
So we've got like, I mean, they kept going a bit. They got in a couple of other singers along the way. I don't know if it's really worth talking about them. They even ended up with Axl Rose for a
Axl
while.
Rose. But to be honest, Axl didn't do too bad of a job with them. You know.
No,
I
he
mean, he
got
really
heavily,
didn't.
yeah, he got heavily criticized.
He did.
But I actually, when I looked at a couple of the videos that he did, and you know what, he looked super nervous.
Mm,
But he could really sing. That guy has an
yeah.
unbelievable voice.
Yeah.
He's got like a super high, like wide range
Hmm.
on
Yeah.
his vocal cords. Something ridiculous, like
No,
it's
definitely.
like 7 octaves or something like
Yeah.
that.
I mean,
Um,
like in some ways, he suppose he could be considered as the perfect replacement.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, in some ways, you know.
yeah,
But
absolutely, yeah,
no, he definitely took it serious more so than
yeah,
I suppose the later Guns N' Roses days, you know. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but
I know. I
but
think
no,
he took the Guns
absolutely.
N' Roses things too seriously at times.
Yeah,
That's why it took them whatever 20 years to write the what was it, China Crisis or something like that,
yeah,
their album.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, so yeah, I mean they're still, I believe they're still touring. Certainly their legacy remains, and their
yeah,
back catalogue is there for everybody to check out. I think
yeah,
it's must listening to
yeah.
for any young guitarist for sure.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And for like any teachers, you know, it's a
Mm.
fantastic resource
Yeah.
to teach their students this stuff, you know, because like I said
Mhm.
at the start, it really does have, you know, has all the foundations of rock and roll,
Yeah.
blues, rock playing in it, you know. So it's a fantastic resource.
Yeah.
Like Angus, you know, I mean, he could be, you know, definitely within the definitely not could be definitely within the top 10 most important guitarists
Yeah.
ever, ever,
Yeah. Yeah.
ever,
Yeah.
ever, ever.
For sure.
Just because of its, you know, his influence and yeah,
Mm.
just his writing, really. You
Yeah.
know?
You got a favorite AC/DC song that kind of would stand out of all of those?
Me, yeah, Back in Black for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. It's just yeah, I just love it. I love
yeah,
this writing, and obviously we listen to the first part, but then it goes into it just kind of wavers off a little bit, and then you hear more of his intricate writing with regards to the extra riffs he was kind of coming up with, and then his guitar solo, and that is just
yeah.
it's
It's
amazing.
awesome. Yeah,
Phrasing and that.
absolutely awesome.
What about yourself?
Yeah, I don't really have a particular favorite. I do like Thunderstruck. I love the way the song progresses. Again, it's kind of that arranging thing of
Hmm.
like you could see the crowd there bouncing along and singing every single word and note and knowing it all. I just love that, and it's like you know what's coming, and
Yeah,
when it comes, it's like yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I love that. It's kind of what rock and roll music should be. Just
yeah,
make you feel happy,
yeah,
make you feel powerful,
yeah,
and let your hair down if you still have
yeah.
it.
I think I listen to too much rock and roll. That's what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, you keep banging your head like that. Just
Yeah, we'll blame AC/DC for this now.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
Um,
no, absolutely, very inspirational. I mean, and yeah, just very inspirational band.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak
No,
about AC/DC.
thanks for asking me, Barry. It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
Absolute pleasure.
and I hope we'll get our students to check them out and really take
Yeah,
a deep dive into the music because it's well worth it.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, dude.
All right.
Thanks a
Thank you
mil.
very much, Barry. I'll talk to
Take
you soon.
care. All
Take
right.
it easy.